Howdy, hey everyone, my name is Jen and I'm part of the Crafty Author crew, and today we are doing another video in our DIY wedding series. So if you've been following along with us, we have dyed some Sola Wood flowers in our first video. In our second video, we turned those flowers into the corsages for the mother of the bride and the mother of the groom. And now we're going to tackle the boutonnieres. So without further ado, let's go ahead and give you all of the materials you'll need in order to make this little guy. Here's a more up close and personal look at what we'll be making today. This is going to be for my groom and his groomsmen. Now, when I went to make this, I actually bought the boutonniere kits from solawoodflowers.com. And what they'll give you is they'll give you some, of course, Sola Wood flowers. They'll give you some pre-shortened wire stems. And then they will also give you this little pack of twine and floral tape along with some hot glue. So those are your first three ingredients, 3 or 4 if you're counting, to make the boutonniere. So of course, first is whatever flower you would like to use. I'm choosing white for both my groom and his groomsmen. Then, of course, these stems, in this video, we will be stemming. So there's your first look at how to stem some Sola Wood flowers. And then, of course, the twine. The twine will be used to wrap up the bottom of your boutonniere to hide all of these stems. You will need some floral tape. Now, with the floral tape, I suggest just going to Walmart or just going to even the dollar store and buying some extra floral tape because let me tell you, this is a lifesaver when you're making these boutonnieres. You will eventually need a wire trimmer. This is kind of in the end of the process where we can just trim it up to make it nicer. And of course, the last thing are all your fillers. So I have, this actually came in my kit from solawoodflowers.com. Then I added 3 different kinds of pampas grass and also some leaves. Now, I did kind of lie. We also have hot glue. So again, here's my hot glue pot that we are going to use to kind of assemble all of this together. Okay, so the first step is to stem your Sola Wood flower. Now, when you flip it over, this is where we're going to put the wire into. This is kind of a compilation of all of those leaves put together. So to make your life a little bit easier, you're going to stick this in about the center of it. Now be careful when you push it through. You can push it all the way through the flower depending on what type of flower you do. For the rose, you don't have to be as careful, but just beware that you might pop it all the way through and you can see an indent in the other side of your flower. So for those more intricate flowers, just be really careful when you're doing this step. So you want to pop it in about the center, and then I tend to roll it a little bit, and when you roll it, you're going ahead and make a little hole. That's just where we're going to put the hot glue. Now this is where our hot glue pot comes in handy. I bought it solely for this purpose. So all you have to do, and they give you a whole stick, a huge stick of hot glue, so do not be stingy. You're going to circle this around in here, and I'll give you a nice blob of glue. And then you just take it and stick that right into your flower. Now, it's really that simple. That's how you stem a Sola Wood flower. Now, you're just going to let this dry, and luckily, since it's hot glue, it's going to dry really quick. But make sure, yeah, you do not want to be stingy because you want these to hold in here. So if there's a little blob of glue, that's okay. No one's going to see the bottom of your flower. So now while that's drying, we want to kind of lay out what we want our boutonniere to look like. So here's the first one. So what I found best to do is just kind of lay it out and plan what you want it to be. Okay, so now I know that I've kind of planned out what I want her to look like. Okay, and again, as if you saw my last corsage video, these are just from these larger stems. All you have to do is just fold them open, cut them up a little bit, and you're done. So now that we have this guy, I don't really like how you can't really see the rose when it's up like this. So I'm just gonna grab right below that and kind of just bend bend it just a little bit because I kind of want to see my rows. And I'm just going to use my other one as a kind of a measure. So I bent it just a little bit. And again, you also want to be careful not to go too close to that hot glue gun or the hot glue that you have there. So now that we have her all bent a little bit, now we're going to start constructing our boutonniere. So the first thing that I did was I took my leaves. And you'll notice when you're doing a lot of the boutonniere items, things with long stems are going to be your best friend. So kind of open them, get them about to where you want. And the good thing about doing boutonnieres is that they are very malleable. So with that other one, actually, I bent it a little closer to the top. Now let's see if these guys go on a little easier. Yep, they go on a little bit easier and they're kind of more popping out, which I really like. So what you're gonna notice when you're making a boutonniere is that you are gonna need a lot of this tape. So this tape, I just like it because I can do little sprigs of it and hold everything kind of in place. So I'm just gonna cut off a little slot here. And then I'm just gonna wrap it as close to the top as I can. Now don't worry if your leaves are not exactly where you want them to be. This tape allows us to make it very malleable, so you can put them in whatever order you want. Okay, so now we have our first 2 flowers secure and everything is nice and compacted with that floral tape. Now we're going to move on to our pampas grass. And again, kind of with pampas grass, what you see is what you get. So if you don't like the way it looks, make sure you maneuver it even more to get to where you want it. And then I'm just holding down here kind of by the base again, as I'm poking and prodding my pampas grass to get it to work with me and get into place here. Okay, so now that my pampas grass is in place, we're gonna grab another move that out of the way. We're gonna grab another piece of our floral tape and wrap it as close to the top as we can, just to ensure that everything is gonna stay in place. So now that I have my pampas grass in the correct place, now I'm gonna put the sprigs. So now the sprigs, all I did was I just fit it back here underneath and tried to pull it through the bottom. And then just kind of pulled it where you could see it just barely. Now we're gonna add our last leaves. Last leaves, you do pretty much the same thing that we've been doing this whole time. You put them at the bottom, kind of put them in whatever place you want. And then you'll use that floral tape to hold it all together. And actually, before we put on those 2, I found these little sprigs of our pampas grass that I liked to put on either side of these greenery. And then you're just gonna put these guys right on the bottom, nip and tuck as you need. And then you're gonna take some more of this tape and then wrap it all up. Okay, so there you have the base of our boutonniere. Now again, you can always poke and prod later, don't worry. Now we're gonna tackle the bottom. So the first thing to tackle is to make sure that we are secure enough that we can grab some twine. So now I don't know about how long it should be. I'm kind of just going to measure it up against my other one simply because it seemed like the right height and the right length. So this is where your wire cutters are going to come into play. I think we're going to match it up right about there. And then you're just going to trim off all of the excess just so that you have a little bit of a stem to work with. And then you can always pull off all the extra pampas grass. And if you want, you can even take some extra tape and just wrap that up just so it's all secure. Now I've heard that floral tape, it works better when you like pull it and stretch it a little bit. That's how it apparently sticks better. So there's a fun tip, or fun, hopefully helpful tip when you're working with floral tape. So now once we have our base all wrapped up, we are going to use twine. Now the easiest way I found to start this was to tie a knot at the top with a little bit of a stem right here. And when you do this, you want to push this kind of all the way to the top. As much as you can, push it up here to hold everything in place. And then once you get it about to the very top, you're going to want to pull it tight. So now this guy will go ahead and wrap around later. Actually, I left a lot. Ideally, you only want about kind of an inch left. But from here, you don't have to use anything to secure it at the top, which is what I really liked. And then once you're done, you will just go ahead and wrap. Now, as we near the bottom, again, what I found was the easiest way to do was just to make a knot. So just make a loop, pop the end of your twine in, and whoop, try not to undo it like I just did. Now, you can always just glue it here, you know, at the bottom, but I just found that when you tie a knot, it holds it together without glue. And now you just also want to make sure that when you turn it around, all of it is pressed to the top. And then once you're done, you're just gonna cut off the bottom. Leave a little bit of space because we are gonna kind of glue the butt. Okay. So now that that's all nice and secure, we're gonna take this and button it over the bottom to keep everything nice and tight. So I'm just gonna bring my glue pot back over here, dip it in that glue pot, and kind of just meld it over. You're just kind of making sure that it all stays on the bottom and everything's all tight here, because you tied it right here, so you'll be just fine. I'm just trying to close off the tip. Now with this long guy over here, you are just going to hide him. So you'll wrap it around once, maybe twice. And then I like gluing him to the back, so that way if people see him, you know, they won't really notice because it's going to be on your boutonniere, or it's going to be on your suit jacket. So now you just take that piece, pop it in the glue, and just glue him around in place. Now that we have the bottom all secure, you're gonna fix your boutonniere until he's back to his formal glory. And there you have your completed boutonniere. I hope you guys were able to follow along with me in making these cute little boutonnieres. And next time, I think we are going to tackle what's left. We have some bouquets to tackle. I think next time, our next video will be on our bridesmaids bouquets and the bridal bouquet. So if you want to figure out how to make these Sola Wood flowers and arrange them into a whole bouquet, check us out next time in our DIY wedding series. See ya!